The hallway outside room 417 was dead silent, except for the whispers. Whispers from family members in pearls and pressed collars. Whispers about him. The black man standing at the end of the corridor didn't flinch. He wasn't wearing a hospital visitor's badge. He didn't cry. He didn't beg to be let in. He just stood there, silent and still, like a statue holding back a flood. Inside the room, Claire, the woman they all adored, was dying. Lung cancer, late stage, days at best. Her father was beside her. Her mother clutched her rosary like it could rewind time. Her sister kept checking the hallway. "Who is that?" one of them hissed. "Why is he even here?" No one had an answer, but he did. David knew exactly who he was. He was Claire's husband, of 5 years, married in secret, loved in silence. And now, in her final moments, the truth that had been buried under years of shame, fear, and societal pressure was clawing its way to the surface. Welcome to Stories with Mr. Gray. If you love uncovering the truth and standing up for justice, hit subscribe, like, and drop the flag of your country in the comments below. Claire and David met at a bookstore, not in some poetic scripted way, but in the real, clumsy kind of way that only happens when fate's in a hurry. Claire was reaching for the same copy of James Baldwin's The Fire Next Time when David's hand brushed hers. "Oh, sorry," he said, smiling. "You've got good taste," she replied, holding his gaze just a second too long. It wasn't love at first sight, but it was interest, respect, familiarity they couldn't explain. He was working 2 jobs, one at a nonprofit, the other driving nights for extra income. She was in publishing. White, smart, witty, moved through the world like it owed her nothing, but still expected it to be better. Their first date was tacos and a walk through the park. They laughed. They disagreed about politics, books, barbecue styles, but something clicked. Over the next year, love bloomed quietly. They built a rhythm of understanding. He learned her coffee order. She learned his silences. They fought sometimes, passionately, honestly, but always returned to the middle, to each other. He loved how she challenged him. She loved how he listened, not just to her words, but to her pauses. He introduced her to his friends, to his mother, to his younger brother, who grilled her playfully and whispered afterward, "She's good people." Claire introduced David to no one. "Not yet," she said the first time he asked. "They're not ready." He nodded. Once. But the months passed. Then a year. Then 2. David's friends started asking questions. "You ever even met her family?" He brushed them off. "They live out of town. Timing never worked out." But it wasn't timing. It was fear. Claire's family lived in a bubble of affluence and inherited prejudice. The kind that smiled in public but whispered in dining rooms. The kind that thought dating outside their race was fine for others, but not for their daughter. She tried once to bring up David to her mother. There was a pause. Then, "Oh, Claire, don't be dramatic. You know your father wouldn't understand." So she stopped trying. They got married in a courthouse on a rainy Tuesday. Just the 2 of them.
No rings. No flowers.
Just a judge with tired eyes and a quiet stamp. Afterward, they kissed under a gas station awning and laughed through tears. "I'm yours," she whispered. "Always." But always didn't feel real when she still flinched every time her phone buzzed and it was her mom calling. She didn't even wear her wedding ring around them. David noticed. She said it was to avoid questions. He smiled through it. First. But the cracks grew. He hated pretending he was her roommate when they'd run into someone she knew. He hated hiding when her parents came to visit, waiting in the car while she made excuses about plans with friends. It hurt, deeply. But David didn't leave. He tried to understand. He told himself, "She loves you. That's what matters." But late at night, when she was asleep, he'd stare at the ceiling and wonder why love needed to be hidden. He started resenting holidays. Thanksgiving, Christmas, All the times she'd disappear to visit family, while he stayed behind. Once he offered to come along. Her silence said more than any excuse ever could. He didn't yell. He didn't give ultimatums. But one day, after another quiet dinner filled with tension and unsaid things, he said quietly, "Claire, do you ever plan to tell them?" She looked away. "One day," she said. "I promise." But the years passed, and one day never came. Claire didn't mean to live a double life, but that's what it became. What started as a delay, just until they're ready, turned into full-blown deception. She'd pull off her wedding ring before Zoom calls with her parents. Hide David's shoes in the closet when they visited unannounced. Lie without blinking, "No, I'm still single," focusing on my career. David watched quietly. At first, he understood. Sort of. But as months turned into years, he wasn't just hidden, he was erased. His name wasn't mentioned. His existence wasn't acknowledged. His wedding photo lived in a drawer. She gave him love in private but withheld recognition in public. At dinner one night, David asked gently, "Would your parents even know who I am if I walked into their house?" Claire froze. Of course they would. Would they? He asked again. Not angry, just tired. She changed the subject. Even when she tried to fix things, subtle mentions of someone special, small truths like, "I'm not alone." She never said his name. And David noticed. It wasn't just what she said. It was what she avoided. She never invited him to her sister's wedding. Never brought him to family birthdays. Never shared holidays. He'd wave goodbye as she left with a suitcase and a promise to text. He started saying less, smiling less. One night, he came home with groceries. She was on the phone, talking to her mother. David walked in. She turned her back. "I've gotta go," she said quickly, hanging up. He set the bags down quietly. "Did you tell her?" he asked. Claire shook her head. It wasn't the right moment. David let out a breath. "There's never going to be a right moment, Claire. Just a choice." She said nothing. One day at brunch, her best friend Tara snapped. "You love a man you won't even post a picture of. That's not love, Claire. That's cowardice." Claire tried to defend herself. "My family's complicated." "No," Tara cut in. "Your family's racist, and you're choosing their approval over his worth." Those words hit harder than any argument with David ever had. Meanwhile, David was breaking in silence. He didn't raise his voice or storm out. He just began disappearing inside himself. Longer walks. Quiet dinners. Less laughter. A week later, Claire stood in front of their bedroom mirror. She stared at the ring on her finger. For the first time, it felt like a lie. Not because she didn't love him, but because she wasn't protecting that love. She whispered aloud, "I'll tell them. I swear I will." But then her world flipped. A faint cough turned into breathlessness. A doctor's visit turned into scans. The scans turned into an oncologist with eyes too sad to offer hope. Stage 4 lung cancer. Terminal. Suddenly, all the years she thought she had to fix things vanished. When she told David, she braced for anger. Instead, he just pulled her close. He didn't ask about her family. He didn't lecture her. He didn't say, "I told you so." He just stayed. Quietly. Faithfully. But when Claire's family flew in to help, they found a man already living in her home. They didn't ask questions. They just stared. Claire introduced him as a friend from work who's helping out. David didn't argue. He just nodded. "Nice to meet you." For 2 weeks, they rotated in and out of the apartment, bringing food, taking notes from doctors, making hospice plans. And every time David sat next to her bed, they pretended he wasn't there. Claire was too weak to fight them. David don't even bother to say anything. All he did was waiting for the right time. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and wilted flowers. Machines beeped in a slow, cruel rhythm, like a countdown no one wanted to acknowledge. Claire lay in the bed, small, pale, barely herself. The once vibrant woman who argued about book endings and corrected David's grammar now struggled to open her eyes. Her body was here, but everything that made her Claire was dimming. Her parents sat stiffly in the corner, speaking in hushed tones. Her sister scrolled silently on her phone. No one looked at David. He stood in the hallway most of the time, pacing, waiting. Nurses passed him with soft nods. A few knew the truth. Most didn't. To them, he was just a family friend who seemed unusually devoted. The days blurred. Food went uneaten. Voices got softer. The air got heavier. David wanted to scream, not at the doctors, not even at her family, but at the years they lost, the love they dimmed, the moments stolen by fear. He held her hand every chance he got, careful not to linger when her mother walked in. He kissed her forehead only when the room was empty. The nurse, Maria, pulled him aside once. "You should be in there," she whispered. He nodded. "I know, but she's not gone yet. And I promised I'd protect her peace, even now." "But you're her husband," Maria said. "Yes," he said, "but I'm invisible here." That word stuck with him, invisible. He'd spent 5 years loving someone who never gave him the room to exist out loud. And still, he didn't hate her. He hated the world that made her afraid. One afternoon, Claire's father stood beside her bed, reading scripture from a small Bible. His voice cracked occasionally, but not from grief, from the weight of trying to feel something he didn't understand. David watched through the glass, fists clenched. When the family left to get coffee, he entered. She was awake barely. "Hey!" he whispered, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. Her eyes fluttered. "You're here. Always." He sat beside her, pulled the ring box from his coat, and opened it. "Remember this?" Her smile was weak, but it reached her eyes. "I never forgot." "Neither did I." He slipped the ring onto her finger where it belonged. Claire's breathing rattled. "She deserves to be known," David whispered. "I can't let you disappear like this." Claire nodded, tiny, slow. "Tell them." He squeezed her hand. "I will." Just then, her sister entered. She froze. David didn't move. "She told me to," he said quietly. Her sister stared. For a moment, she looked like she might scream, but she didn't. She stepped out and returned moments later with their parents. Claire's father's face twisted. "What is this?" David stood, not to defend himself, but to speak the truth. "I'm not here to cause pain, but I've been part of her life for 5 years. We were married. She chose me. Even if she didn't choose to tell you, she chose me." Her mother gasped. "That's not possible." David reached into his wallet, pulled out a folded marriage certificate. He laid it on the table like a final offering. "I stayed quiet to protect her peace, but she asked me to speak." Claire groaned softly in the bed. Her hand twitched. Her mother moved to her side. David took one step back, not out of fear but respect. "I loved her every day," he said, "even when I wasn't allowed to say so." He looked at each of them. "I'm not here for forgiveness. I'm not here for drama. I just wanted her to have truth." In the end, her father looked down at the certificate. His hand trembled. Still, he didn't say a word. David felt a chill run through him. Not from the air, but from the realization that even now, the truth wasn't welcome. He knelt at Claire's side. "Remember when we said we'd renew our vows on our 10th anniversary? She blinked slowly. "I still will," he whispered. "Even if I'm the only one there." Claire opened her eyes one last time. "I see you," she said, then closed them. The machines flatlined moments later. Everyone stood still. Not in grief, in disbelief. David didn't collapse. He stood up, pressed a kiss to her forehead, and turned to her family. "I hope someday you'll see her the way I did. Brave, loving, just scared." Then he walked out, not rushed, not broken, just done pretending he didn't belong. And the only person crying was David, because he had loved her fully, out loud. After Claire's final breath, the room went silent. Her mother wept softly, bent over the edge of the bed. Her father stood stiff, unmoving. Her sister whispered her name over and over, as if repetition could undo death. David stayed just long enough to say goodbye. He walked out of the hospital without a word, carrying only his coat and a memory of her last look. "I see you." He didn't expect to hear from the family again. But 2 days later, he received a call. From Maria, the nurse. "There's something you should come in for," she said gently. "Claire left something. For you. And for them." David returned to the hospital and was handed a small envelope, sealed in red wax. His name was written in Claire's handwriting, elegant and sharp, just like her. Maria handed him a second envelope. This one read, "To my family. To the people who never met my husband." "I don't know what's inside," Maria said. "She gave them to me weeks ago. Said she had a feeling she wouldn't get the chance to say things herself." David took them both, paused, then handed the second one back. "Can you make sure they get this? When it's time?" Maria nodded. David went home, sat at the kitchen table, took a deep breath, then opened his. "David, if you're reading this, then I didn't do what I promised. I didn't find the strength. And for that, I'm sorry in every way a person can be. You gave me your love without conditions, without pride, without expectation, and I kept it locked behind a door I was too afraid to open. But I need you to know, every time I hid you, I hurt myself more than you'll ever understand. I wasn't ashamed of you. I was ashamed of the coward I became. You deserved more. You deserved to be celebrated, not hidden. To be welcomed, not tolerated. To be honored, as my husband, my home, my peace. If I could do it all over again, I'd scream your name at every family reunion. I left something else behind. Something for them. It's the truth. All of it. You don't owe them forgiveness. But maybe they'll read it. Maybe they'll change. Maybe they'll finally understand why silence can kill love faster than time. I love you. I never stopped. Please live out loud, even if I couldn't. Claire." David sat still for a long time. He thought of their first apartment. The way she danced barefoot to 90s or backslash and be in the kitchen. The way she corrected his grammar but never mocked his dreams. He thought of the years he watched himself disappear from her world, but never from her heart. Then he smiled, bitter, but real. He didn't cry. He'd done that already. Instead, he opened his laptop, pulled up a photo of the courthouse, the gas station where they kissed in the rain, her smile in the background of blurry selfies. And then he pressed post. It was time the world knew. That same evening, Claire's family gathered at the house for dinner. The mood was grim, hollow. Her sister brought out the letter Maria had delivered. Her father frowned. "What is this?" Her mother hesitated. "Something Claire wrote for us." They opened it together. "To my family, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And you're grieving someone you only partially knew. I need to tell you the truth. I was married. For 5 years. To David. Yes, David. The man you met at the hospital and dismissed without a second glance. The man who held me when I cried about you. Who cooked me soup when I was sick. Who memorized my favorite poems and listened to my rants about editing deadlines. He was the love of my life. And I hid him from you. Not because he wasn't worthy, but because I didn't believe you were. I was afraid. You raised me to fear judgment disguised as tradition. You taught me to smile through silence. And I learned that love with conditions isn't love at all. I know this letter may not change your hearts. But if it does, start by remembering his name, David. And then, ask yourselves why you never knew it until now. P.S. I've left copies of our wedding photos. He deserves to be remembered. Claire. The room stayed silent long after the letter ended. Her mother began to cry again. But this time not from grief, From shame, her father walked out of the room. Her sister picked up the letter, read it again, then whispered, "She loved him." The next morning, they found an envelope on their porch. Inside was a framed wedding photo. Claire beaming in a simple white dress. David holding her hand. Pure joy. And underneath it, one line she'd written in blue ink. Love isn't real if you keep it a secret. If this story moved you, if you believe love should never be hidden, share this video. Let someone out there know their truth matters. And if you're ready for more stories that go beyond the surface, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We tell the stories the world tries to forget, and you deserve to hear them. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.